Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We interrupt this program to bring you a special announcement. I'm not wearing any underwear, but that's not the special announcement. I'm speaking from the roof of the broadcast building, New York City. The bells you hear... Oh, shit, I forgot the bells. Are ringing to warn the people to evacuate the city as the Martians approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the road to the North Hutchinson River Parkway, still kept open for motor traffic. Avoid bridges to Long Island, hopelessly jammed. And who would want to go to Long Island anyway? All communications with the Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago. So no word from Snooki or the situation about the situation. No more defenses. Our army wiped out. Artillery, Air Force, Girl Scouts of America. Everything wiped out. Even the safaris wiped out. This may be the last broadcast. We'll stay here till the end, for this is truly a war of the worlds.
What do you think? Think they bought it?
Is that? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, attack from space on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 That's time for the show. Yay.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. I am your host, Insane Mike, and this is episode 286. We call Attack from Space. The films we will be talking about in this episode are about those pesky creatures from another world invading Earth. Fun fact for you, part of my intro was directly taken from the original Orson Welles radio teleplay.
Was it the part where they pinched their nose?
I think so.
Okay.
That was for authenticity.
Oh, right.
I fooled everybody thinking that was a
did.
real broadcast.
They were scared.
That aliens have invaded. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, it's about damn time.
And I apologize.
Hey, come on.
Attack of the Killer Podcast is a horror movie podcast where a group of friends get together with a topic and we discuss films within that topic. Now, we're all just friends, hanging out, having a good time, so there may be spoilers. Do you ever feel like there's something missing from your life? Then you should become an attacker. An attacker is more than just a fan of the show. You are now part of the Attack of the Killer Podcast family when you become an attacker. If you go to jointheattackers.com and sign up for the tier you wish to donate, you become one of the special elite. That's right, an attacker. And you get all kinds of perks for bringing more Attack of the Killer podcast into your life. You can get bonus episodes, early access to the regular episodes, our exclusive YouTube shows like Killer Critiques, Insane Mike's 1 Minute Top 10 lists, video updates. You can get invited to our exclusive events like monthly horror hangouts, watch parties, and our chat called the Attack of the Killer Chat. You can get your own membership card, certificate, and sticker. You can get your own t-shirts and even original art by me called Mikey's Monsters. We offer so much more than a lot of the other podcasts out there that offer with their Patreons. But you know what they say, quality over quantity, right? Mm-hmm. Well,
We offer neither.
Come on.
The content we offer does bring the quality as well. But don't just take my word for it. Here is the list of our attackers.
Shout-outs. Hey, we got Timothy Lennerer, Roman Doppelfeld, Larry Watanabe, Brett Royer, Seth Key, Jessica Irish, Chris Cook, Brian Godsil, Stefan Sitter, Brandy Moore, Andrew Moeller, Rod Hutchinson, Carmen DeHague, Abraham Moreno, Jacob Book, Andrew Bentler, Casey Kelderman, Tony Miller, Mike Clayton, Rose Talashoma, Marcus Rude, Abe Kirshner, Lisa Cavalier, Holly Berg, Emily Randolph, Bill Fisher. What a list. Woo! These guys rule.
Hey, Marcus Rude.
I breathed in the wrong spot. Leave me alone.
Is that two people?
You read it next time, sucker.
I will, because I got to give a shout out to Abraham Ariano.
That's right. I don't have time to roll my R L's. and things. Anyway, thanks everybody.
Yes.
You guys freaking rule.
Thanks for being attackers. And you can join that group of cool people by going to jointheattackers.com and become part of the Killer Podcast family. Do it now.
Do it.
And now it is time to introduce you to the podcast crew. He learned the truth about how aliens made all those crop circles in the cornfields. They used tractor beams. Jason.
Whoa! Hey everybody, thanks for listening. Really appreciate you being here. You guys rock.
He knows there haven't been any aliens on Earth yet. They won't even come to the Milky Way because aliens are lactose intolerant. Tad.
I appreciate you fitting my deformities into the description.
Deformities? Last but not least, one of the hosts of the I Like It Spooky podcast. He's an attacker. And regular obscene phone caller. Oh no, there goes Tokyo. Go Godzilla. That's right, Brian Godsil.
Thanks for having me.
Well,
I
thanks
think
for being
back
I'm
to
a
the
regular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm a regular inappropriate telephone caller. Like it's every week, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Hey, thanks for being on proper.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Anytime.
You're welcome.
What's new over there at the Spooky Boys?
Nothing. Just
Okay.
traveling the country.
Cool.
Got back
Okay.
from Michigan.
Yeah, what's up there?
Got back from Michigan. I'm going back from Michigan. We went and did into Clint's neck of the woods, and we did. Oh God, I can't even remember the name of the
City
convention.
Mayhem?
There's so many we're going to. Yeah, Motor City Legacy. We did, and in June, I'm going back for Motor City Nightmares. So, what a
Cool.
Is there Motor
we
City
got
Mayhem
Flash
too?
back. I think that's our WCW event back in the day.
Okay. I don't know. There's just a lot of Motor City
Yeah, everything's Motor City up there. Yeah.
because they built cars in the fast.
Yeah. I joke because we also just got back from a wedding in Missouri, and we go to Hannibal, and I said to Tiffany, I said, everything is named after Mark Twain. Did anybody else ever fucking die in this town? It's like when you go to Detroit, everything's Ford. Ford. What road are we on? Ford Road? And you take a left on East Ford Road, and then you go past Ford Field, and then I'm like, what the fuck? It was nice there, though. It's nice and quiet. The convention was nice. They had some cool guests that were making their like a first appearance. Like the people from Psycho Goreman were there.
Oh, cool.
Mimi and the guy that played Psycho Goreman. So
Very cool.
they had the little girl Rhonda from Trick or Treat was there. It was her first appearance, I think.
She's probably like 40 now.
Yeah.
That movie's already old.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, awesome. Sounds great. And welcome back to the show. So tonight, we're going to be talking about horror movies about aliens invading Earth. But I bet you're wondering, what else have we been watching lately? Here's Tad with what we watched.
You had me for a second there with that segue. I was like, oh, are we skipping over? Okay, cool.
I
Right
know.
into the movies.
Got him.
I know Jason gave me a look too, and I'm just like, oh, nice.
No, you're a professional. You got us. So, Mike, I guess I'll go to you first. What have you watched?
Okay, it doesn't feel like I've gotten too much watched lately, but I will start off with probably the most important one. Barry Season 4 has started up. It's 3 episodes in now, and it's freaking awesome. If those of you out there who have not seen Barry, it's on HBO Max. It's the Bill Hader show where he plays like this ex-military guy who is a hired hitman, but is kind of sick of that life and decides he wants to be an actor. He starts taking acting lessons and
From the Fawns.
yeah, from Henry Winkler, and It's freaking awesome. But
So
yeah,
good.
cast alone is great. Bill Hader, love him. Henry Winkler, this is the best thing he's ever done. And this is coming from somebody who grew up being a huge Happy Days fan. Stephen Root, it's one of the best things he's done. But my favorite character in it is from the actor
course.
Anthony Carrigan, NoHo Hank. Oh, he is so freaking funny. He is so funny,
Yeah.
but and you just kind of love him because even when he's at his
Worst.
most evil, he's still just
Aw.
happy and,
Little buddy?
and cute and yeah, little buddy. Spoiler alert for episode 3.
Jesus, come on.
What I can't help it because I was floored. Guillermo del Toro plays a character in it. You never see him act.
No.
So that was freaking cool. I won't tell you anything more about it. I just thought that was awesome. He showed up. But season 4 is off to a great start, and it's just keeps getting darker and darker down that rabbit hole of how is he going to get out of this? And I question if he is going to get out of it, considering they have openly said that this is the last season. So feels like nobody's safe when it comes to this show. But anyway, that's the big one I watched. I kind of started filling some gaps in my movie watching from over the years. A big gap in Italian cannibal films was the movie Cannibal Apocalypse, also known as Cannibals in the Street. Had never seen that before, so I broke down and watched that.
Why do all cannibal and zombie movies have 19 goddamn titles?
That's all Italian
Italian.
horror movies
Right.
in general.
Yeah.
Just different
But why?
markets and back in those days they would release a movie and it did okay, so then they would just retitle it and release it again.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a common thing. Anyway, but this one has John Saxon in the lead, so super awesome. It's also got probably one of my favorite Italian horror movie actors. I'm going to slaughter the name, but Gorvini Lombardo Radici. He was in Edge of the Park, City of the Living Dead, The Church, Cannibal Ferox, Stage Fright. And this
Are
was
those all titles for one movie?
yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah. So he's worked with a lot of the greats, Fulci, Michelle Silva, and so he's awesome every time I see him in something. And I think this was his first film he did too, so that was pretty cool. But the movie is about these mentally unstable Vietnam vets who were held captive by the Viet Cong, and they come back to America after being rescued, but they are carrying a dangerous virus that turns people into cannibals when bitten. So it's okay, we want to do a cannibal movie, but we want to do a zombie movie. Let's make cannibalism a disease that is spread by bites. So
Nice.
yeah.
Best of both.
Yeah, and it's interesting because usually those Italian horror films are completely overdubbed. They don't record sound, but this one has a mix. There's some actors that are completely overdubbed, and then you get people like John Saxon, who is clearly speaking English on the original audio track of the film. So I don't know. I was trying to do research, but I totally ran out of time and couldn't find anything about that process. I just thought it was interesting. Audio-wise, doesn't come across as your typical Italian horror film from that era. And then another one that I've never seen before, I finally broke down to watch. I watched Midnight Run from 1988
Cool.
with Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. It's directed by Martin, is it Briest, I think is how you say it?
Scorsese.
Yeah, yeah. The guy who directed Beverly Hills Cop, Scent of the Woman, Meet Joe Black, and then ruined his career by making Geely. So, well, quite literally, he hasn't made a movie since that one. So yeah, and it was pretty cool. Not what I was expecting at all. It's definitely more of I went like a buddy road trip comedy in a sense, but basically, De Niro is this bounty hunter. Who is taking a former mafia accountant to California for this trial against his old mob boss, and they are being chased by a rival bounty hunter, the FBI, and the old mob boss. So
This old story.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. And it's pretty good. De Niro, as always, is amazing in it, and you know, Charles Grodin's sometimes kind of hit and miss with me, and he for most of the film he felt really two-dimensional. It didn't get a feel for his character more towards the end. He just seemed a little flat, but good, but still good, But anyway, that's what I watched.
Excellent. Jason, what have you watched?
I finished up season 3 of Mandalorian. That was
Sweet.
awesome.
That's completely out now, the whole season.
Yep.
Okay.
This last week was the last episode.
So what starts next? Because I know Disney doesn't take a week off.
No,
So
they do
what,
not.
What Star Wars series starts back up now?
Ahsoka is coming soon. It's the next series.
What's that one?
Ahsoka is the one with Rosario Dawson, that character with the big blues.
Oh, yeah, okay. The
She-
tentacle hair things.
So I think, yeah, there's a trailer out now for it, and it looks amazing. So cinematic and beautiful, like most Star Wars things. She made an
Rosario
appearance,
Dawson, so-
she made an appearance last season, a Mandalorian, to help when Luke was training.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But Grogu.
Who's
but-
Luke?
All right, so let's see. And then I joked at the end of the last episode, but I really did watch The Horde this time. Oh boy! It was a watch party for the attackers.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks a lot, Emily.
Must have been pretty rough
mean,
because
well-
I noticed your disclaimer in the chat for any future watch parties.
Well,
I will say
yeah.
that in her defense, this is the kind of movie we
exactly.
need on. Yeah.
Exactly. No, she did right by picking a terrible movie, so it was so easy to riff on. It was definitely.
Oh, it was just bad?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This like Arnold wannabe, or I wouldn't even say Arnold. Like who would you say? What's the guy from Scott Adkins wannabe? Like wrote and directed him, and he's the lead in this movie where he just kills rips out a bunch of throats and shit. It's really ridiculous.
Action film where he's just the badass of badasses and all these
Untouchable.
awesome.
does his own stunts and sure, buddy. And then it's anchored by the legend Bill Moseley.
Playing a bartender in
who
2
just
scenes.
Sucks in that too. Well, I mean, yes, in 2 scenes, and it's bad. Yeah, I know that warning in the chat. I've been wanting to do that for a while, but the scene in this definitely made that happen. But The Horde from 2016. So there's lots of different The Hordes and Hordes. This is the 2016 by Jared Cohen. Don't watch it. And then I watched a couple comic book movies. Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Oh.
Loved it.
Is it good? I was a little
no.
nervous. Oh.
Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. Yes.
What is it?
Yeah. Okay. Hi, guys, here's a little therapy session. Get comfortable. So the good parts of this movie is great. All the superhero stuff's awesome. The storyline, even though I don't like it, it works and it's good. It's cool. I don't know that I could have ever imagined Helen Mirren as a bad action person, but anyway, I mean it's funny, it's great, it's cool, it's good, but so like I had my hard time with this movie is not the same as everyone else's, I'm sure. It seems like the internet is just across the board just trying to flush this thing away.
Yeah.
But no, I think if you like the last Shazam at all, it's still that great.
See, I love the first
Yeah.
one.
It's still that good. The things I didn't like about it was it's just me getting old, I think. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm finally admitting it. I mean, I'm not, Mike old, but I'm getting old.
But
And like,
I'm not get off my lawn like you are.
there's just scenes in this movie, and I can tell it's happening over a while now of all the movies we've been watching, but this one, I definitely noticed it where like people would just be killed, and like it just bothers me now more than it used to.
I don't, but
Yeah, well, it's just watching somebody get killed for no reason.
Brings
That's
me
part of
joy.
it. No, it's really sad and not. It made me not like it at all.
Are you talking about like characters within the story or like background fodder?
Both.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it starts with characters. Definitely, that's where it definitely has become a problem for me to watch anyone that I like at all not make it to the end. It makes it hard. Just I'm sensitive, I'm a sensitive guy. But in this one, I'm like, I found myself getting sad that even just I'm like, oh, they just threw that car and it landed on somebody and they're dead. I mean, they're just murdering people left and right in this comedy superhero movie, and I'm like, that's not cool at all. And so, emotionally, I had a hard time with this movie. But
Interesting. I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to watch it just to see what
I-
level
there's-
you're at with that kind of violence.
I mean, they even a minor character they introduce, they give him some lines. He's a character actor that we love and comedian we love, and he just dies because it's just like
is it because of the genre, or are you really getting that?
it's all
sensitive?
things. It's all movies.
Really? So can you
This
not?
is a superhero comedy movie.
See, that's why I'm asking, because I get that, and I feel like superhero comic book movies have gotten too extreme in that angle. I agree with that, but like, does that mean you can't ever go back and watch a Friday the 13th movie again, or that I'm just
I don't know.
determining the line here?
I don't know. I think part of it was just when it's senseless. That definitely makes it harder. Actually,
I think I know what you're saying.
I
know
get
where you're
mad at the
coming
movie.
from,
I'm
but-
like, oh, you didn't have to kill these people. If it serves the story, then maybe that's better.
okay.
I guess we'll see. Or I don't know.
We'll find out what the movies we
I
talk
don't know.
about. I guess.
We'll dig deeper on the next therapy session. But yeah.
So that was the first one.
Yeah, if you liked the last one, you'll like this one. It's good and funny. And then I also watched Quantum Mania, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, another current superhero movie that's been shit on.
I know.
And
Well, Paul Rudd's awesome.
they
always.
stepped on an ant, so Jason hates it.
Yeah. Okay, well, mocking me isn't gonna help me.
Love you, buddy.
I know.
That's part of our therapy.
I feel okay. So I hardly even read reviews of shit anymore because everybody hates everything now. But
Yeah.
I feel like one of the things that got through was that really this is a movie in front of a green screen, and
Yeah.
it kind of is. I mean,
Lovely.
it really is.
Well, I mean, they're in the quantum realm, I guess.
right
what
for
you
the majority of the
expect.
movie.
Yeah.
So if you can just get the fuck over that, they like more than any. They just had. It's clear they had a blast coming up with creatures and aliens and
Yeah.
weird things that count as a creature and just it walked a line of like, is this just a editing experiment, or is this creative, like, and it's mostly creative, but then on top of that, I'm fighting against not liking any time travel movie ever because I hate time travel stuff.
Yeah.
You
Is
know,
this time travel?
Well, it's it's Ant-Man. It's always there's multiverse stuff. It's
that's-
excuses galore. You know,
Okay.
in these movies, so it's just complicated. But it was pretty, and and Paul Rudd is awesome, and so I did, and all the actors were great, and Michelle Pfeiffer was fucking hot and awesome in this. She like kicked ass, even though I'm sure it was a stunt woman, but in some of it, but man, she just kicked butt. I thought she was awesome in it, but and yeah, setting up the new bad guy. It's hard to after Thanos. You know, what do you do?
Well, if you have issues with
The,
multi-universes and time travel and that kind of stuff, then you're gonna just hate this bad guy.
yeah, no, I definitely they've told me enough. Yet I like Doctor Strange. I like all those movies, but I can deal with those.
Yeah.
But anyway, oh Lord, shut up, Jason. Hey, that's what I watched. Some superhero stuff. It was fun.
All right. Well, that brings us to you, Mr. Godzilla. What have you watched recently?
No, I didn't watch any superhero stuff, that's for sure.
Come
Thank
on.
you, God.
But I did, I was like, I need something to watch. So I turned on Tubi, and I'm like, yeah, Reform School Girls. That looks fun. So I put that on,
Sweet.
and it's Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I think that's the actress that it is. She's pretty much the nurse or mother for this reform school, this part of the reform school. They all, all the girls get separated, and she's got a headmaster that's over her, and they're bad people. They beat the girls, and they take their food away, and there's one group that's like branding girls to get them to come into be part of their gang. And it's just a fun 80s. I don't even know if it's fun. I mean, it's one of those 80s girls in a shower, girls in a reform school, but they're, prison kind of movies.
This sounds fun to me
And then
so
the
far.
next then the next movie that was on after that was Death Race 2000.
Oh yes.
The Sylvester Stallone one, the one from the 70s, late 70s, and it's got Robert Carradine and some other actors and actresses in it. But it's I gather it's set in the future, which by future I mean is like last week, and the government's in control, and they have this death race where 4 racers, and they're it's kind of like Cannonball Run, but you get points for killing people. Why anybody would be out of their house while this is going on is beyond me. But like random people would just be outside, like there's a kid, doing hopscotch, so they run him over. And
This is like Jason's
Like,
worst
there's-
nightmare now.
yeah, there's like people messing around with a banner, and they like knock the one guy off the ladder, and he falls, and his friend climbs down into the manhole, and they run the guy over, and the friends look up, and the car comes back and like smashes their brains in the manhole. But
My
it's
favorite
about the
is
government
like,
and all that.
my favorite is like the nurses wheeling all the old people into the park, into the street,
Yeah,
and the
so they could
wheelchairs
be-
and stuff. So it's like sacrificing the old people.
But I think, doesn't he go around and like run all the
he-
nurses and
he runs
doctors
the
over
nurses
instead?
over instead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the yearly. They do it every year. It's like the hospice cleansing. They like get rid of half the old people, so they can have new old people come in for next year. And they end up Robert Carradine and this girl that he's with, who's like his co-pilot. She's supposed to kill him, but I guess they fall in love, and yeah, it was weird, but it was fun. And Sylvester Stallone's just like slapping his girlfriend or his wife the whole movie and like punching her. He's like you just can't wait for him to die, his character. And then the next movie that was on was Rollerball.
Nice.
No,
You
wow.
had
I
a
got
heck of a
about-
marathon.
Yeah, I got about an hour and a half in the Rollerball, and it was like 3:30 in the morning. So I was like, okay, I got to turn this off. And I finished it yesterday. So again, another, set in the future, the government's telling people how to live, and I can't even remember. Is it James Caan who's the head actor in that movie?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. And he's kind of like the Michael Jordan of rollerball. He's just so good and so popular that he's becoming more popular than the government. So the government's trying to get him to retire. They, take all the rules away from rollerball. They take his wife away. They give him another wife. He doesn't like her. They give him another wife. He doesn't like her. He wants his old wife back. And
Hate when it
they
happens.
paralyze his best friend. They take all the rules from rollerball away, trying to get him to retire. But at the end of the movie, he wins rollerball, and then the movie finishes. So I don't know what happened after that. Maybe he's still skating around the fucking rink, just chanting his name. I don't know. And then Silent Rage with Chuck Norris.
Yeah, I love that one.
And then we did. I love it too. We one of my co-hosts on the I Like It Spooky Horror podcast is a huge Halloween fan, and I was like, "This movie's better than fucking Halloween 1. Halloween 1's boring."
Wow.
I was like, "This movie's better." I was like, "This would be a great double
that's a
feature
bit
with
much.
Halloween 2." But I was just busting his balls because he's like, "I
That's when
didn't
they
like
kicked
this
you off the
movie."
podcast.
Yeah. And then I watched The Hero and the Terror, which is another Chuck Norris movie that was worse than Silent Rage. I enjoy Silent Rage. I didn't really care for Hero and the Terror. I don't know if you guys have seen that one, but it's pretty much Chuck Norris is a cop, and there's a serial killer that's, attacking and killing women in Los Angeles. And at the beginning of the movie, they're fighting, and Chuck Norris goes to climb up a ladder. The serial killer goes after him. He slips and falls and knocks himself out. So Chuck Norris is this hero, even though he really didn't do anything. So the serial killer escapes, and he takes refuge in an old theater that the city had been remodeling. And he's continuing to, kill people and find people to take back to the theater. And Chuck Norris finally figures it out, and they fight to the death in an old theater. Well, it's been remodeled, but yeah. But just, I don't know, it just wasn't as fun as Silent Rage. And then I watched Joe Bob, but I can leave that for Tad. Because I feel like Tad made it later in the show than I did, because I was in Missouri on my phone. Because I took my Roku, but I took the power cord, but I forgot the fucking Roku part. And I'm like trying to plug it in. I'm like, where does this go in the TV? Tiffany's
my
like, you
goodness.
forgot the Roku part. I'm like, oh shit. So I was watching. So I'm watching Joe Bob on my phone, going back and forth between the show
And tweeting.
and the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I've seen both of the movies that he showed, so it was fine. I did buy the record that they put out from Ship to Shore, so I can listen to the music anytime.
Of course you did.
Yeah, but I think that's all I watched.
Awesome. What have you
Well,
watched?
nice,
Ted?
nice segue. A true podcast pro. I also watched The Last Drive-In Friday. It was awesome because Joe Bob did a late night talk show sort of theme as the season opener. A lot of people really hated it. I thought it was a lot of fun because I know it's just one episode, and I love when Joe Bob does weird things like his Christmas auctions, and I like the weird episodes out in the woods, and I like when he switches it up. People get so riled up over change. It's like just be grateful that we have Joe Bob, but I just love that they're trying new things. He had about 20 rotating guests. It was crazy. He had guests that had nothing to do with the movies and never mentioned the movies, and it was just in and out, and it was sort of a whirlwind, but it was a lot of fun. He showed Zombie, aka Zombie 2, aka Zombie Flesh Eaters, whatever you want to call it, Fulci Zombie, and I've seen that a million times, but it's still awesome to hear him talk about it. He had Fabio Frizzi in his band as the house band, which was freaking awesome.
That was awesome. Yeah.
That was probably my favorite part.
Same here.
Fabio coming over and talking was awesome because it's crazy to think like he must have been in his early 20s when he scored those movies, because he's still like spry and young.
Yeah.
I mean, not young, but like still there with it,
Oh yeah.
still killing it.
He was far more energetic than I forget the actor's name that was interviewed before him.
Yeah, that was in Zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost
he
seemed
clearly.
like he didn't want to even be there, but
But I think that's like a British thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. Then he did The Beyond, which is my favorite Fulci film right after.
Too.
So I loved that. And like I said, there was a crazy list of rotating guests. My favorite was Bobcat Goldthwait. He did a short little stand-up set, and he even
Yeah.
he roasted Fabio Frizzi, which was fucking hilarious. Like, because he had no idea what the hell was going on. He just smiled, which is just so funny. But I really enjoyed that. And then I watched 2 movies. I haven't really watched a whole lot of stuff, but I went to the theater twice since we last recorded. I saw the new Nicolas Cage film, Renfield. No one else saw that yet?
Nope.
No, you could. That's
No.
why the
How was
box
it?
office is the way it was.
It was awesome. Without spoiling too much, this movie is like canon in the Dracula universe.
Say what?
Yeah, like they deep fake Nick Cage into the original Dracula, guys. Black and white, like Universal Monsters Dracula.
Cool.
So this is the same Dracula that Lugosi played, technically. But it was so much fun. It was like, it had the fun. I mean, Jason might not like it because they kill a bunch of people, but it's like itchy and scratchy, Kill Bill style blood everywhere. Nick Cage is hamming it up, loving playing Dracula. You can tell he's never had more fun. And it made me laugh a lot. It had sort of a side story that wasn't necessary with Aquafina, but it was fun. And then I watched the other big one that came out, Evil Dead Rise. I can't believe you guys haven't seen this yet.
Yep, not yet.
No.
Godso?
Going to see it this weekend.
Okay. I will not spoil anything for this because it just came out. Even though you're going to be listening to this, I'm sure you've seen it by then. It might even be fucking streaming by the time you hear this episode. I think it hit streaming May 9th already, guys. So, but this movie fucking rules. I can't believe they were just going to throw this on HBO Max. Like, God, they dodged a bullet by testing it with audiences first and decided to go theatrical because the sound design was awesome. The cinematography, this did not feel cheap to me. This did not feel, I'm not saying all streamers are cheap, but it did not feel like a video or a movie that you need to watch at home. Like, this felt like theatrical. I loved it. This sort of cements Evil Dead is like the most solid, consistent horror franchise now. I mean, not a bad entry. It's hard to argue. So
Sweet.
it, from the very beginning to the very end, balls to the wall. It did some new stuff, which was really cool. Kept the original sort of feel. Not a lot of humor to it, so very much in line to the 2013 movie where it was just mean and brutal. But they introduced some new stuff, and I loved how they introduced the Deadites. This is maybe the first time I really, really cared about the characters in an Evil Dead movie.
What?
Yeah, like they really set it up so that when bad shit starts happening, you really feel for them. But I highly recommend checking that out. Luckily, it did it over performed at the box office from predictions. It did the opposite of Renfield, so clearly people want more of this, and it sort of sets it up for a sequel. So I think we're not going to have to wait 10 more years for another one. I think Raimi and Campbell are ready to get the ball rolling and push out some more films real fast. So let's get it going. I'm ready for more Evil Dead. And that's what I watched.
Excellent. All right. So now it's time to get into our topic. Some creepy aliens going on here. So, Tad, what is the first movie we're going to talk about tonight?
Our first movie is The Deadly Spawn.
What was that?
First,
There was the invasion of the body snatchers. Then there was Alien. Now there is the deadly spawn. It began with a meteor crashing to Earth. No one knew the mystery of the mutant spores it contained. Now they are free. They will grow and reproduce rapidly, eating anything and anyone in their path.
Something.
The deadly spawn. The nightmare is just beginning. What do you do when unknown terror surrounds you? What do you do when there is no escape? Nowhere to hide from being eaten alive.
What the was that?
The deadly spawn. They just keep multiplying like demon seed. The deadly spawn, extraterrestrial terror. They're full of surprises. And the best is yet to come.
Let me go! Let me go! There's no such thing!
Can anything stop these strange creatures? The movie real science fiction fans have been waiting for. The Deadly Spawn wants you to see them at this theater soon. They need every person they can get. New from 21st Century Distribution. Rated R.
What was that movie called? I can't remember. Oh, yeah. He said it in every line.
Yeah.
The deadly spawn. They came to Earth to feed on human flesh. When a meteorite touches down in the New Jersey woods carrying a monstrous alien slug, it's up to 4 teams to stop it before its terrifying brood consumes all life on Earth. What a description for a very low budget sort of DIY movie, but man, it's fun. You can tell a lot of love went into this movie for, these creatures, they're even if you've never
Amazing.
seen this movie, if you've never seen this movie, you know these creatures from something, because they just have a very distinct look. They're awesome.
Penis monsters.
Yeah, well, intestine monsters, penis monsters, whatever you want to call them. The fucking teeth are awesome. The designs on these for having zero budget is fucking awesome. It's so much fun. Just it's very, like I said, it's low budget guerrilla filmmaking at its best. A bunch of people who probably never had experience, don't know what they're doing, but they sure as hell made some cool monsters. Let's make a movie. It's short and sweet, to the point. I had a fun with it. I hope you guys did too. I'm sure Mike's seen this more times than he's
A billion times. This is one of my faves, man. I wanted to get this movie on the show at some point, and this is basically why the topic happened. I love it, love it, love it. Yeah, extremely low budget. IMDb says it was $25,000. I wonder if it was even that much, to be honest.
Right, like they had a minimum you could enter. It's really about that.
Yeah, definitely rounded way up.
Yep.
Because I mean, to watch this film, it's definitely got, it's 83, but it's definitely got like a 70s feel and aesthetic to it. I think it looks like it was maybe shot on 16, maybe. I don't know. I didn't look that part up.
Just Tad talking about Evil Dead, it's just got like that.
Yeah.
Early 80s, late 70s, awesome, cheap.
Yeah. All sound recorded with a boom mic. So very roomy sound quality. Not high quality actors that you've ever seen. There's nobody in this movie that you would know, and some pretty stilted performances. But man, when those creatures show up, it's awesome. Some cool gore, but just always been in awe of the puppetry of these creatures from all shapes and sizes. I mean, there's the main one that's in the basement that is like the size of the basement practically. It's like huge, but then you get little tiny ones that'll fit in like a food processor or, coming up from the drains. So of all shapes and sizes, and all of them look and move great. It's utterly amazing. But I feel like I kind of feel like not only does this film have like a 70s exploitation look and feel to it, but it also has like some 1950s touches to it in tribute to like classic alien invasion type movies. Yeah, all the way down to the soundtrack. You get a lot of cool theremin in the soundtrack.
You can
Love
feel
that,
the
yeah.
inspiration from
Yes.
those 50s sci-fi.
Absolutely. So, love this movie. The most impressive shot for me is the really cool, not to be spoilery here, so I'll keep it vague, but the really cool forced perspective final shot of the movie, which I think is like a good 1-2 punch right there at the end, a good punchline to the whole movie right there. But
And I will say I feel sort of bad because it's like you feel like if you like this, you should like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
No.
But also, I think it's the humor in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is what is killing it for me because it's like why do I like this but I didn't like that?
it's pacing too. I mean, this movie once it goes, and doesn't let up. Where being a big Killer Tomatoes fan, I can admit that the pacing is off in that film.
Yeah, there's a couple scenes in this where the pacing's not good, like
It kinda
the
slows
eggs
back
and the
down a little bit.
breakfast in that
Yeah.
morning, or like a biology like lesson from that one girl. But yeah, I mean the aliens show up immediately,
Yep.
and it goes from there. Godsil, is this your first time?
No, I've seen this maybe 2 or 3 times before
Hell yeah!
watching it this time. And I always feel like it's one of those movies that someone wanted to make a movie. They got a hold of all of their friends. They called so-and-so's grandma because it looks like somebody's grandma's
Yep,
house.
yep.
Like,
Yep.
and I got a whole bunch of Halloween and horror-themed collectibles. Let's all bring those over. We'll put them in one of the bedrooms.
Yep.
That'll be, the kids' bedroom. We're in high school, so we have books and all that stuff. And grandma made them all dinner, so they didn't have to pay the crew to feed them. They filmed the camping part in the background at night. In the end, there's so many parts of this movie that remind me of older movies, like the end where they all come in and they're killing all the creatures. I'm like, this is like Nightmare or Return of the Living Dead, or Night of the Living Dead, not Return of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead.
And then, the end, like you were talking about, the forced perspective is like the old black and white ant movies, or, giant ants or giant spiders or whatever. Kind of reminds me of that kind of stuff. But like you said, feels like a passion project. That these people made this movie because they wanted to make a movie, and they have a love for film. And it just kind of took off. I mean, 25,000 was probably all the special effects.
100% to special
Yeah.
effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie has no right to be this dang good. Like you said, yeah, terrible actors acting, locations, art direction is awful. It's just Friends on the Weekend, really. But my goodness, it just is greater than the sum of its parts, and it's motivated all by those effects. That monster is incredible.
Yep.
Love this movie, man.
Sound design of the creatures are cool. Again,
Yeah.
I really like the score a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Tad said penis monster.
Yeah, it was Ted.
Jason.
Yeah,
No,
Jason.
it was Jason.
It's on his mind
Whoever,
all the time.
if your penis looks like that, you need an antibiotic.
Oh, yep.
You need medication. You need to have somebody look at that.
Someone had to say it without Andy here, so
Right, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Great movie. I first saw this back in the VHS days, and I own the original VHS that I rented back in the day. when the video store closed down. That was like the first thing I bought off of their
The
shelves.
Aliens Returns.
Yes, and it's a big box from, I think, Continental Video under the title Return of the Aliens Deadly Spawn.
Trying
Which-
to capitalize on the Alien movies.
Yeah, they tried to tie it into to Alien to capitalize on that, but it's just such a gorgeously gross red cover, like covered in blood, and you just get a big shot, and not an artist rendering either, an actual photo picture of the creature right on the cover. Love that box so much. Anyway, Tad, what trivia do you have for Deadly Spawn?
Well, I didn't know if you just had some stuff because I didn't want to step on your toes. What do you have?
Oh gosh, I'm on the spot now.
I can go ahead. Gene Simmons of Kiss currently
that's
owns
right.
the prop severed head of the kid's mother.
Yep.
Tim Sullivan gave it to him when he interviewed Simmons for Fangoria, which is not fair.
Yeah,
Right.
no kidding. Me, I'd love to have one of those creatures. No matter which version, I'd take one of the little slug ones.
Well, you better start a really shitty band.
Come on. That's true.
There's an unofficial sequel, Metamorphosis: The Alien Factor.
Have you seen that, Mike?
Back in the day when I learned it was supposed to be a sequel, I don't remember a thing about it, but if my memory serves me, I didn't like it. I don't even know if I finished watching it the first time. It's because it didn't really feel connected, really.
Well, it's not. What basically they pulled an Italian type thing, what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And in parts of Asia, they just decided to call it the Deadly Spawn 2, the Metamorphosis, just to sort of capitalize on a movie that, for some reason, I mean, it's not like it was a huge thing anyway, so I don't know what. It's not like Zombie 2 where they're like, Dawn of the Dead was huge. Let's say this is a sequel.
Yep.
The mother spawn was created in the basement of effects artist John Dodds. However, no one took the creature's size into consideration, so when they had to have it on set, they had to cut off one of the creature's heads to get it through a doorway and reassemble it on set.
That hurts.
Yeah.
The effects of the mini spawn slithering across the floor in the basement was achieved by cutting an S wriggle into the floor and pulling the spawns across the floor.
Yeah, those ones that wiggle around, slithering through the water in the basement, they look real, man. They look like,
Yeah.
It's like Killer Shrews where they just put like creature costumes on dogs. It looks like they took real like worms and slugs and put a costume on it because they just move so lifelike in the water of the basement.
Yeah, the only other thing I saw that I thought was interesting was this was almost picked up for theatrical release by Paramount.
Wow.
What
I
would
don't
have
think I knew that
changed?
one.
Yeah, what would have changed if that would have happened? Who knows? It could have just flopped, or it could have been a huge thing. But seems more of a trauma type release. But
Yep.
no, that's unfair to it. It's good, so it wouldn't be. But trauma wouldn't pick it up.
Trauma has a few good stuff in their acquisitions,
In their acquisitions, yeah.
Yeah.
And one that they made.
Maybe.
That's it. We're doing a Trauma episode.
Oh, damn it, Tad. Yay, trauma rules.
All right. Well, thank you, Tad, for trivia. It's time to move on to our next film. Jason, what is that?
Oh, it's this little film from 1951 called The Thing from Another World.
That thing's alive, sir. I saw it. I shot at it. I hit it. I know it. Nothing happened. It just kept coming at me, making a noise like a cat mewing. Captain, it was awful. If you could have seen those hands and those eyes. Captain, you've got to do something about it. You've got...
Is it human or inhuman? Earthly or unearthly? Baffling questions, astounding questions that not even the world's greatest scientific minds can answer.
Gentlemen, do you realize what we've found? A being from another world, as different from us as one pole from the other. We can only communicate with it.
See? What happened, Doctor?
In the greenhouse, I was working. I couldn't see.
Yeah.
Then a blast of cold air, and I heard Olson scream.
Come here. Get in the corner. Now hold this in front of you.
Stay by the light switch.
1.9. Needles hit the top.
When scientist Dr. Carrington reports a UFO near his North Pole research base, the Air Force sends in a team under Captain Patrick Hendry to investigate. What they find is a wrecked spaceship and a humanoid creature frozen in the ice. They bring their discovery back to the base, but Carrington and Hendry disagree over what to do with it. Meanwhile, the creature is accidentally thawed and begins wreaking havoc. Directed by Christian Nyby. Distributed RKO Pictures. $1.95 million box office. That's pretty good for 1951.
51, yeah.
It's like a Marvel movie now.
Screenplay Howard Hawks. And so everyone knows about this movie. This obviously is that Carpenter kid inspired by. But this is the first time watch for me.
Sweet.
Never had seen it. And god damn, it was awesome.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I don't know, like, is there like a word count on how many words are in movies? Like, this one's up
dialogue.
there. This was like some of the best, like, choreographed dialogue, fast-paced amazingness.
Yeah, like this is like Tarantino and Kevin Smith are jerking off to this shit.
Exactly. For
like
real.
they're so clever, back and forth, but it doesn't feel
3,
like
4, 5 characters are just going.
Yeah,
at
well,
it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say, it doesn't feel like your typical '50s dialogue either, where back in the '50s and before it felt more stage play. It was like, I have my line, which is a cue for your line. People are
so
literally
kinetic
talking
and
over
so-
each
yeah.
other like Jason and I are doing right now.
Yeah, I loved it, and watching it, I'm like, this sort of feels like Hateful Eight, but I know Hateful Eight was hugely inspired by Carpenter's The Thing, which was obviously inspired by this, and it's like, but like when that reporter walks in the room from outside and he starts going, like right away, I love him.
Yeah,
because he's sort of the funny one. He's joking, he's busting balls when he walks in.
yeah.
And they're playing cards. I'm like, this is awesome. Like. These guys, and then there's actually a woman in this one, and she's awesome too.
She keeps them right up with them, and she's awesome
Right.
too.
Yeah, and this is weird because it's like I feel like I've seen this, but clearly I haven't sat down and watched it. But God, when that movie opens, I've watched Halloween so many times that they're watching the beginning of this in Halloween. The RKO Productions. That screen is like melted in my brain. And then the music goes from like upbeat to The Thing, and it's so cool, man. Like, what a great film.
Another thing I like about it, in comparison to other, sci-fi, horror film, alien films from that era, is that the alien is truly menacing looking in this. But they play on the strengths, I believe, of the actor instead of something being overly designed creature to the point of being cartoonish, like you would see in most.
Yep.
So
like the brain that wouldn't die, it was just all makeup and
yeah. So the look of the creature is awesome. It's just perfect. Just enough to be like, this is not human, but not way over the top, and then just really relying on the performance of that actor.
James Arness.
Just filling the doorway when he comes
Yeah.
bursting through and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a first time watch for me, and
Wow, cool.
that Carpenter's movie is,
it's
it's the same movie, but it's different. He kept the freaking opening. It's The Thing. Yeah, I was like, you didn't even change it. Your movie's the thing too. What the hell? And it reminds me how lucky we are that we get to go through these phases. We get to go back and watch these movies. It's so clean. It sounds good. It looks good. It's well acted. It's just like this work of art in this time capsule. And we can go to the 70s and look at like Suspiria, the Italian movie, and the colors, and we love that. And we can go to the 80s and look at any number of trashy films, but they have that 80s look to them. And it's something that I think we've all talked about maybe in the chat before, and I know Joe Bob Briggs has talked about it, how films nowadays don't have that look, and they lack that acting, and they, like you were saying, it's almost like it's a stage play, and these actors have worked together for years crafting this movie or this play, and they just know each other so well. You know, they've lived together every night after night after night of this movie, and they just have it down so well. And these guys were probably together, what, for a couple months making this movie? You know, like, so I enjoyed it. I would go back and watch it again, and it's one of those I can put on, and my 4-year-old can watch it with me. And I don't have any reason to hide her eyes, or there's no curse words that I remember in the movie. And probably the worst part about it is there's somebody smoking, if that bothers you. I mean,
well, there's it doesn't quite match the dog scene in Carpenters, but the dog scene in this is impactful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Ted.
It's, at least I could tell it was, well, I hope it was just like a stuffed dog, but yeah, it still has a punch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's funny, like, not to get into this whole remake thing, like people always go, remakes suck. Well, what about The Thing? People always bring that up, and it's like, you think about it, like, 50s, 70, 30 years later, it's not like, the advancement of film obviously progressed so much quicker between 50 and 80 and 80s and now, but like, they made 2011, so when they did The Thing prequel, like, I'm just thinking of like, how things have moved technology wise and stuff, but it's like, it doesn't feel like it has similar beats, but to me, this is its own, like, Carpenter's The Thing and this they're based on the same story, but it's not a remake of the movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I'm totally blanking on the name of the short story that this was based on.
Here, something comes, I forget.
Yeah, and I feel like John Carpenter's is based more towards the short story than this actual film. But the thing is, like with Carpenter's film, you mentioned earlier about how, like, people fear change and whatnot, and people dumping on, like, current remakes or whatever, or new versions of an old thing, and those same people who probably love John Carpenter's movie, keeping in mind when Carpenter's movie came out, it was a bomb, and he got attacked.
It fucking ruined his career.
Sci-fi and horror fans, because they said it's nothing like the original. So there you go.
Who Goes There is what it was called.
That's it. Yeah, Who Goes There.
Which is fucking cool. Like, we need that. I want that as a title. That's fucking cool and scary.
Yeah, that's a great title. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like the monsters were completely different. I mean, you have in Carpenter's The Thing, it's just this creature that morphs into humans and disfigures people. And this one, it was an alien that, when damaged, it like shot out pumpkin seeds, it looked like. And it grows like plants. You plant them and it starts to grow other aliens. And again, in this one, I feel like the scientist was like, no, we need to save this creature. It's important to, discovery. And in the Carpenter thing, they're all just like, we're fucked. We're all fucked. We're all gonna die. We're just, there's no saving anybody.
Not at first, though. In Carpenter's The Thing, they are, like, right away, immediately, they're cautious, but they're also like, what is this thing? We should, like, get it back to the base figured out. Then there's no mystery there. That thing fucking goes at their dogs right away. So then they're like, fuck this thing. But there's like a very slight glimmer of hope that they can, with this one, right up to the end when it's coming down and they're going to electrocute the thing, the scientists are still going at him, going, we mean peace, we want to communicate, blah blah blah, and then he smacks that bitch like 30 yards.
Here's the thing, like they were talking about like we mean peace and everything like that, but who attacked who first? Like,
yeah.
The creature did nothing to these people for like its first 15 minutes or so of it being in the film.
It was
the
on its
worst
own.
it did, it fought dogs, and who's to say the dogs didn't attack him first, right? So, like after he thaws out and the creature is standing upright, that guy just starts shooting at him and runs away. So, like, who's the bigger threat here? But what I wanted to say too is like both movies play really well with the whole like isolation themes and and claustrophobic themes, and Carpenter takes it a step further with like can't trust anybody. But I feel like other than the setting, I feel like some of those general themes are consistent in both films.
When the dude shoots at him and he runs into the room and he's telling everybody about the creature, and the guy, I'm waiting for the guy to slap him, but he throws a cup of water in his face. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? It's like, I've laughed out loud. Calm down. Have some water.
All right, Tad, what trivia do you have for this one?
There's like a metric ton of trivia for this, but
I bet.
I thought some of the interesting stuff. Close-ups of the thing were removed. They were shot, but they were removed because it felt that the makeup could not hold up to close scrutiny. But the lack of close-ups, I think, actually make the creature more mysterious and creepy. And he doesn't even appear until 1 hour, 10 minutes into this film.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we sort of, like, they're digging, trying to get him out from under the ice. Like, there's all this sort of...
he's there, but
he's not seen, so it makes it really impactful when he finally does.
It's kind of that Alfred Hitchcock, bomb ticking clock theory, right? Like, we all know that the bad presence is there, but it doesn't do anything forever because it's just thawing for, the first half of the movie.
Right. Originally, it was tended to make the creature a shapeshifter, as in the story, but the limited budget forced the filmmakers to drop that idea. Early conceptual sketches depict a very plant-like looking creature with one of its limbs seemingly undergoing a transformation into a human hand. So when they remake this again in a few years, they can do the more Groot version of him. The famous scene where the crew formed a ring around the flying saucer frozen in the ice was actually filmed at RKO Ranch in San Fernando Valley, and it was 100 degrees outside.
Holy crap, wow. Yuck.
But that's
Being
like
in
the
winter gear,
Yeah, that's one of the like scenes that is like embedded in my head, and like I said, I'd never seen it, but I remember that. I think that scene's in Halloween also. They go back and Lindsay's or Tommy's watching it, and they're circling around. They're like, this thing, it's funny that they all stand around and they're like, wow, this is big. Like, you couldn't tell by just looking at it. You have to stand in a circle.
Right,
wow.
right.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's so, again, sort of very relevant to our times where it's like, what do we do with it? I don't know. Blow it up. That would be our reaction now, too.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. Throw dynamite at it. And then the dialogue is so funny. It's like, we just destroyed, the biggest discovery in Earth's history.
I know, scientist guy was super annoying, but I mean, half the things he said, I was like, he was totally right on all these things. But but he must be destroyed too.
Yeah. But man, cool look back in history. I'm so glad I finally sat and watched it front to back. I hope.
Yeah.
Is this in the Criterion Collection? You would think so.
I thought it.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
The way it started, I
should
thought it
be.
was going to have that logo pop up, but
The Criterion or the
Yeah.
Janus films,
Yeah.
something cool. But I got to go on the search for a physical copy of
4K
this. So.
of that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Absolutely.
so cool just to have. We live in a cool world where we have 2.5 great versions of the thing. So
Right?
yeah,
Come on. I like the prequel.
I'm a
John
defender of
Carpenter's
the.
was good. Come on. Oh wait, you're not
I'm a defender of the prequel too, but
love it.
Universal really fucked up by
Yeah, they
putting
did.
CGI over the practical effects. If
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
would have stuck practical like we've seen on those behind-the-scene videos, we might have another masterpiece on our hands. But
Studios.
yep,
Stupid studio.
I thought by 2.5, I thought you meant the half of the movie that's in fucking Halloween.
Oh.
okay, 3.5.
Yep.
All right, awesome. Thank you again for some trivia. Brian, what's our next film we're going to talk about?
The Borrower from 1991.
Thanks to Warlock and Hellraiser, the horror genre is hot again.
Isn't that something?
Now, from the critically acclaimed director of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, comes The Borrower, a new kind of horror film.
There ain't nobody gonna believe this.
An alien serial killer from another universe comes to Earth.
You are weird. Weird.
It's a monster.
And Ray Don Chong is the detective who must find him.
Oh my God.
Not since Reanimator has there been such a movie. The Borrower, the ultimate head trip.
Kinda cute. Kinda.
John McNaughton's The Borrower.
An alien is banished from his planet and sentenced to live on Earth in human form. There's one problem with his disguise, though. Every so often, his human head explodes, revealing his true identity. This leaves the alien with no choice but to intermittently pop off the heads of people and use them until it's time for a replacement. Meanwhile, officers Diana and Charles begin to trace the trail of headless bodies back to their extraterrestrial source. 1991, directed by John McNaughton. I didn't know he did Henry Portrait. What?
Yep.
What? This is
I mean,
nothing like that. What the fuck?
That trailer was full of buzzwords, wasn't it?
Very similar tones. Come on.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the best they could come up with was Warlock. Really?
Right?
That's
Hey,
the
I
best.
love Warlock a lot.
I mean, I get Hellraiser, but
Yeah,
Warlock, really?
I just wanted to thank Hellraiser and Warlock for bringing horror back. I really appreciate it.
What?
I mean, distributed by the Cannon Group. I mean, there you
Go
go.
figure.
Yeah. I had fun with this movie. I mean, it's to me it's a horror black comedy, you know, like I had fun. I laughed a lot. It was interesting. I mean, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, a little. Can we reveal a secret behind the curtains? Originally on the list we had The Faculty, and then we remembered. Jason thankfully remembered that we did that for Back to School. So Mike threw this one on there, and I knew nothing about it. He sent us a YouTube link because it's so good that it can be uploaded to YouTube, and no one will, put a copyright claim on it because no one wants to claim they own this. I was not expecting to enjoy it at all. I'm like, I hate 90s horror. It's The Borrower. The opening scene, I'm like, this looks so bad. God damn it, Mike. Like, you traded The Faculty for this thing. And then I start watching it, and I'm laughing my ass off. This is the beginning, that the first body he takes over, that actor, I don't know who he is.
Tom
but God,
Towles.
That was, okay, that's Tom Towles. Okay, yeah. Fucking awesome. It was hilarious. I loved it. It was such a different, to go from the thing to this, what a drastic this whole episode's a goddamn roller coaster, Mike. Thank you for
You're
this.
welcome.
What a fun episode.
Tom Towles makes this movie to me. I kind of lose a little bit of interest. I mean, I'm still all in, but once he's gone, it's like his performance is as this like fish out of water alien who understands nothing of human culture or anything is so freaking funny.
Oh God! In the car with the girl, and he's putting on the sunglasses, and she just is so oblivious to everything. Like, pulls out the gun, and she's like, "Oh, I keep that in case there's creeps in my car or something." And it's so funny. He's walking around with the sunglasses. And it's like Weekend at Bernie's style funny.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, that's a great comparison. He's eating at the soup kitchen, and the guy puts the rat in there.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
He eats
the whole rat. Yeah. So good, dude. I was like, why am I laughing so hard at the stupid movie?
Yeah, I'm convinced it's supposed to be more comedy than horror.
I hope so. If not, kudos to him for unintentional humor. Jeez.
Yeah, he's great. So good. He is the best part of this. Yeah. Because for me, overall, the story definitely feels a bit weak. Kind of feels like there's two stories going on, and they're both just a day in the life kind of stories, right? Like with nothing really happening other than an alien going around swapping heads, and then a very unconvincing cop played by Ray Dong Chong doing her thing. And the two stories don't even connect. I mean, yeah, they're following the mystery of these headless bodies, but they don't connect they don't put anything together and track this guy down until the very, very end. That the two stories even come together in the last 10-15 minutes.
Is she the chick from Commando?
Yes.
Yes, that's
fuck yes.
Tommy Chong's daughter.
Oh my God, she's awesome. I love her in that. I love her in this. I'm so sad, Andy. Andy, if you're listening, can we just bring you on and talk? This would be Andy's favorite. He would love this stupid shit.
No way he would.
Now,
yeah.
I want to say too. Yes, I love Ray Dong Chong a lot too. I've always enjoyed everything that she's in. But and I'm pretty sure you'll probably bring this up in your trivia. But she's really just kind of phoning this performance in.
Oh, it hardly shows at all.
It's not good. Yeah. As much as I love her, she's the weakest link of this film.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They picked the strongest actors to be interchangeable in this movie because, like you said, the original guy that he takes over the body, great actor, and then is it Julius, the guy that's later on that's the alcoholic, the homeless guy?
Yeah,
he takes over his body at one point, and I thought he was great, and then
he did great
too.
The
doctor at the end was kind of the weak link of those three, but those were like the three best performances in the movie. The police were. I got lost in that whole story. They're chasing this other killer.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I kind of was missing that. I was trying to pay more attention to the alien, but
it's kind of when the alien's not on screen, no matter who the performer is. When the alien's not on screen, everything else is just kind of white noise.
Yeah, and I can't imagine they took this seriously.
It couldn't have been
the part where he's walking through the hospital, and it's like he's looking for another body, and it's like. The first person is dead. The second person, they're doing shocking for CPR. The third person has no legs, is in a wheelchair. And then he walks in on the doctor and the nurse having sex. I'm like, there's no way they are taking this seriously. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's one problem that... with the movie, there's one kind of flub that I think they kind of screwed up on in the script, because it's blatantly obvious, right? Throughout this whole movie, the alien has no concept of anything of life on Earth. He doesn't understand even the basics of eating. But when he's in the doctor's body, it cuts to a scene where he's at home. How did the alien know where to go, how to get there? And even that was the doctor's home.
Yeah. Well, and he knows how to drive a car and start a car.
Yeah.
And a mirror because he's looking at himself with the sunglasses on. It was... There was some stuff that didn't make sense. Yeah, but...
That moment there in particular.
Yeah.
But then you get a cool scene where he puts on a dog's head. So there you go.
Now, did you all? And I don't know what's in trivia, but did you all catch the Garbage Pail Kids on TV?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And then
Oh, yeah.
I know is it Tad and Jason are big Twin Peaks fans?
Andy.
Andy
I mean, I
and
like
Tad.
it too, but
Yeah,
they're
but
hardcore.
did you catch the groupie from the band?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yep, yeah. She's one of the actresses from Twin Peaks. I can't begin to
Which that
pronounce
band
her name.
was so. I mean, come on, this is a comedy. They knew that they were doing. He's singing a song like just recording it, yeah, and then they're watching it back, and it's like, man, those lyrics, like that's brutal. He's talking about like what's killing his parents or something.
Yeah,
It's very. I mean, it has to be comedy, if not, holy shit. But
Yeah.
and he's like, "You look like shit." No, you look like shit. I look good. I'm like, oh Lord.
I'd have to say we wouldn't be questioning the comedy if it came from any other director than the director of Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. And like this was his follow-up to Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, if I remember his IMDb
It's
correctly.
the Tom Towels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I had as much fun as you guys did, but like, I mean, I was with it from the beginning, and then it was obviously bad. I liked the insect alien, and I liked the way he talks. That's fun. And he got shot, and that sucked. And anyway, I was with the whole movie until he put on the Hawaiian shirt in the back alley with the drug homeless guy. I was just like, I just can't anymore.
why?
And then like you guys are saying this, I wished it was more intention. I mean, I think it just wasn't obvious enough of a comedy. Like it didn't just lean into what it is. Like it was too serious too often. I don't know. Like it wasn't. If this was like an actual comedy, I think it would have been easier, if they really leaned into it. I mean, maybe you make it sound like it was obvious, but
Are you saying that, okay, is it the motivation of everybody around this alien that seems weird and off? Because, yeah, like the girl picks him up. He's covered in blood. He's acting really weird, and
come
she's
on.
oblivious to it. And then he meets the homeless guy, and they become best friends, even though he's still being extremely weird and never talks, eating rats, and then spits the rat out in the guy's face that put the rat in the soup. And then the next scene, all three of them are hanging out drinking booze. So is that kind of part of it, you think?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, it's Machen Amick. Oh man, I was such a crush on her. That's the Twin Peaks girl.
Oh,
yes.
Oh my goodness. So it was cool to see her in this movie, but yeah, I
Maybe.
mean, and like anytime there was gore or exploding heads or any of that stuff, I'm like, all right, this is cool.
Yeah, it brings you back in. doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know who did the effects?
Who?
Kevin Yeager.
Oh, I did know that from the credits. When I
Maybe
watched
this was just a regular Friday night in Los Angeles in the early '90s.
It's possible.
Nothing weird here. Yeah.
It's on YouTube where you find all the good
But
movies.
yeah, but double check which version
Oh,
you
yeah.
watch, because I had to send 2 links. The first link, the audio was like echoey through the whole thing,
Ew.
and it was very painful to watch. And I'm like, the guys are gonna hate this. So luckily, I found another one that the audio was way better.
Very lucky.
Yeah. So Tad, what trivia do you have for this one?
Well, you alluded to it a little bit earlier, but Ray Don Chong badmouthed the film, saying it had the worst script she's ever performed. Director John McNaughton's response in a 1990 Cinema Fantastique interview replied, "It was a nightmare working with her. She didn't belong in a little $2 million movie. I mean, she wants to be Sigourney Weaver. She's worked in big budget films before, so why did she do this movie?" We asked her why, and she did the movie, and she said because she needed the money. And then, no surprise, originally produced by Atlantic Entertainment Group for a 1988 release, the distributor's closing led the film to spend 3 years on the shelf before finally being released by Canon in 1981. As soon as Vestron backed out Atlantic picked it up, but it was submitted to the MPAA and given an X certificate. So they just walked out of the deal. We got an R rating and had to cut it 5 times, but I don't feel the picture was damaged to the point where it was destroyed by any means.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so there we have it, folks. That is it for Attack from Space. The invasion is over. The aliens have gone home. Earth is safe once again. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do some segments. But first, you're going to hear from our podcast network, the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. The PFPN is home to over 30 different shows. You heard me,
How
right?
many?
Over 30. Including some rando podcast called I Like It Spooky Podcast. Your go-to podcast for anything horror related, where they always keep it spooky. Horror movie reviews, news, and more. So check out I Like It Spooky and all the other shows on thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show, and now it is time to hear from all of you out there, the listeners. Here's Jason with shout-outs.
It's time for shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, we asked what your favorite Attack from Space horror movies were, and these are your answers. Over in the Facebook group edition, we'll start there tonight. We got Tim Lennerer. He says, Attack the Block.
Fuck yes.
Which honestly should have been called Defend the Block. But that's the only problem I have with it. The 1956 and 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers are amazing looks at small town and big city paranoia, which are two very different flavors. The 1993 Body Snatchers has its moments, and the premise is a brilliant, sick joke. It takes place on a military base. Who's an emotionless drone that follows orders because the alien pods got him, and who's just in the chain of command. And lastly, They Live, which is sort of kind of like the Body Snatchers movie because the invasion is already well in progress when the protagonist finds out about it. And lastly, he says here, the 2008 anti-vaccine Body Snatchers remake, The Invasion, is both podless and pointless.
Ooh. Take that,
Spicy.
Nicole Kidman.
Oh. Lisa from the Bad Movie Bunny podcast says, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah.
Or Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Oh, Tim Lennerer's back.
Nope,
He says,
yep.
Yep. I hadn't seen Killer Clowns in about 20 years, and then it opened B-Fest, and the Howl Horror Invasion the same year still holds up. We got Jacob McLaughlin. He says, several of mine have been named, so I will go with Slither.
Yeah.
It's thoroughly disgusting and makes a small threat, the slug-like creatures, genuinely creepy, especially in large numbers. Still my favorite James Gunn movie. We got Emily Randolph, Attacker Emily. She says, The Thing, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Dark Skies, Signs, hell yeah,
Yeah.
and Honeymoon.
Oh, I don't know Honeymoon.
Nope. We got up next, we got Attacker Rose. She says, Fire in the Sky from 1993.
Yeah, the abduction scene's so creepy.
Yeah. I would consider this space horror since it did have to do with an alien abduction, and it horrified 5-year-old me in the theater. It still freaks me out.
Me too.
Yep. We got Attacker Hot Rod Hutchinson says, Killer Clowns is my favorite, but Night of the Creeps is a close second. With all of its homages to the horror creatures of the past. Thrill me. On our Facebook page, we got Brian Clark.
Woo.
Deadly Spawn rules.
Yes.
Of course.
More love for Deadly Spawn.
Then he says, Alien 2, Solitaire, which totally means on Earth, should be nearly unwatchable by any reasonable standard, but somehow manages to create an eerie atmosphere despite virtually nothing happening during the entire runtime. Bill Redbane's The Alpha Incident is a great Andromeda Strain knockoff. Oh yeah, Andromeda Strain is pretty neat too. Predator somehow manages to simultaneously be a phenomenal sci-fi horror flick and the best weightlifter with a machine gun action flick ever made. I think he's right.
I think so too.
This post would be longer than the phone book if I listed every one of these things I love. So I'll leave it off with Day of the Triffids. Both the 1963 film and the 1981 BBC miniseries are excellent.
I've not seen the BBC one.
He just loves those Triffids.
Yeah.
And then we got nothing on Twitter, but over on Instagram. Hey, it's the Reebster, old school video _Inc. He says, Mike says, so many to choose from. The Thing, both versions. That's right. Critters, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Invaders from Mars, both versions. Day of the Triffids, Killer Clowns, and probably 100 more.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Right. Yep. So let's check the answer machine over there. There's nothing.
That's weird.
That is. Well, anyway, so if any of you guys want to leave a voicemail like we didn't get today, you can call us at 415-952-6857. That's 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us a voicemail and we'll play it on the show. It's that easy. But we're not done yet, folks. We got one more segment left. It's time for Insane's Picks.
So we do live in a day and age now where it feels like there's a new superhero movie coming out every week. I mean, for crying out loud, Jason had watched 2 for what we watched.
Because I'm cool.
There are so many superhero movies, but there's only one that is the best of the best, the greatest one of all time. That's right, I'm talking about the 1966 Batman the TV series parody, although the director claims his film came first. That's right, Rat Fink a Boo Boo. The villainous chain gang are bored and are looking for something to do, so they target C.B. Beaumont, the girlfriend of rock and roll star Lonnie Lord. They harass her, stalk her, and even eventually abduct her. And they hold Beaumont hostage and order Lonnie Lord to pay a very hefty ransom. In order to save his girlfriend, Lord takes on the identity of Rat Fink, and his friend Titus Twimble assumes the role of Rat Fink's sidekick, Boo Boo. On their rat cycle, the duo eventually manage to track down the chain gang. After a long chase and the resulting confrontation with the gang, Rat Fink and Boo Boo rescue Beaumont. However, Beaumont is abducted once again, this time by Kogar the ape, a gorilla that has escaped from the local zoo. So Rat Fink and Boo Boo must rescue her again. This film was written and directed by Ray Dennis Steckler, most known for Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies. Shot on 16mm on a Bolex camera with no sound. All the dialogue and sound was done in post by Academy Award winner Keith Wester. Obviously, the Academy Award wasn't for this film. The film is definitely made on the fly with obvious changes in film stock, as some scenes are pure black and white and others have a pink hue to them. There's way too much filler for just a 74-minute film and is shot like a Super 8 family video. But it is still a lot of fun and often really funny, with great dialogue like, "Remember, Boo Boo, we only have one weakness." "What's that, Rat Fink?" "Bullets." Often the case with a lot of Ray Dennis Steckler films, he starts out by trying to make one movie and it changes during production to another. He was basically trying to make a straight crime drama, but changed his mind during filming about 40 minutes into the film and turned it into this crazy superhero comedy. You can even tell when the switch happens in the movie. Everything feels pretty straight until about that 40-minute mark when two people come running out of the closet dressed in really bad homemade superhero costumes. The film was originally called Rat Fink and Boo Boo, but when the opening credits were made, they forgot to add the N and the D to the word and. So instead of redoing the opening credits, they just renamed the film Rat Fink a Boo Boo. Now, although on the Media Blasters DVD release of this film, Ray Dennis Steckler himself denies this by claiming the film was always supposed to be called Rat Fink a Boo Boo. But yeah, I sincerely doubt that. Rat Fink a Boo Boo is very amateurish and often feels very improvisational, not always in a good way, but it is still a lot of fun to watch. And only at 72 minutes, you're not committing a ton of time. So I highly recommend checking it out, Rat Fink a Boo Boo. And that is it for this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. I want to thank you all for listening, and a very special thanks to our very special guest, Brian Godsil.
Thanks for having me. I will say the movies on this episode were a lot better than the
You
Killer
got lucky,
Furniture
pal.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Where
Where
can people find you out there?
Well, I'm all over. I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast. We're on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Subscribe, do it.
That's right. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Traveling the country.
Yeah.
With this convention thing all over the damn place.
All right, and you can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If that is not enough Attack of the Killer podcast in your life, then go to jointheattackers.com and sign up for all those cool goodies. And now it's time for us to climb back into our spaceship and head back to our home planet. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you all next time. Live long and prostate.
What?
Oh no, could this be the end of? Wow. Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 It's the end of the show. Bye. See you next time.